Welcome to the Cryptosphere. This is Cryptogenic coming at you. Today is Friday, December 9th at 9:20 p.m. here in Northern California. And in this video today, I'm going to talk about how artificial intelligence can be used to help you learn technical analysis, and not only to learn technical analysis, but to make better investment decisions and to learn how to call the bottom of a market, to learn how to call the top of a market. We're going to be talking about this resource called ChatGPT. It was created by OpenAI, and I'm going to do a demonstration here of how this works, because I think it's quite amazing. You basically just talk to it and ask it questions, and it will answer. So let's start with the broad question. Can you explain technical analysis to me? And there it goes. Technical analysis is a method of evaluating securities by analyzing statistics generated by market activity, such as prices and volume. Technical analysts use charts and other tools to identify patterns that can suggest future activity. Does this work for digital assets as well as securities? Yes, technical analysis can be used to evaluate digital assets such as cryptocurrency in the same way that it's used to evaluate other securities. Can you give me a strategy for identifying the bottom of a bear trend using technical analysis? Sorry. One possible strategy for identifying the bottom of a bear trend using technical analysis is to look for chart patterns that can indicate a potential reversal of a trend. Some common chart patterns that can signal a potential trend reversal include the double bottom, the triple bottom, the head and shoulders. In a double bottom pattern, the price of the security hits the bottom, then rises and falls again. Okay? Head and shoulders pattern. So it explains those patterns. What about the RSI? The Relative Strength Index is a technical indicator that is commonly used in technical analysis to measure the strength of a security's price movement. Now, this is interesting. The RSI is calculated using the average of the security's gain and losses over a given period of time. It's a momentum oscillator that ranges between 0 to 100 with values below 30, indicating that the security is oversold. Values above 70, it's overbought. Okay? Can you give me a strategy that combines candle patterns, RSI, and volume to identify the bottom of a bear trend? This is pretty cool. One possible strategy: look for a double bottom or triple bottom chart pattern. Okay. Check the RSI to see if it's below 30. Check the volume to see if it's increasing. If all three conditions are met, it may be a good time to buy. Okay. So look for a double bottom or triple bottom chart pattern. On what time frame? The time frame for using this strategy will depend on your trading goals and preferences. Some traders may prefer to use a longer time frame, such as a daily or weekly chart, while others may refer to a shorter time frame, such as hourly or 15-minute, to identify short-term opportunities. Ultimately, okay, so my objective is to enter a longer-term trade rather than a short-term trade. Which time frame should I use? If your objective is to enter a longer-term trade rather than a short-term trade, you may you could use the daily or weekly charts. What about the monthly chart? You can definitely use a monthly chart if you want to identify longer-term trades. Looking for long-term investment opportunities, use monthly charts for buying and selling. A monthly chart can provide a more broad view of the market and can help you see the bigger picture. However, keep in mind that using a monthly chart will also make your trades less sensitive to short-term market fluctuations. So you will need to be patient and disciplined. Can you give me a step-by-step plan for identifying the bottom? No, identifying a good entry point for a long-term position at the end of for a digital asset like Bitcoin, using a weekly chart, candle patterns such as a descending wedge, RSI, and volume? Sure, here's a possible step-by-step plan. 1. Use a weekly chart to track the price of Bitcoin over time. 2. Look for a descending wedge chart pattern. 3. Check the RSI to see if it's below 30. 4. Check the volume to see if it is increasing. 5. If all three of these conditions are met, it may be a good time to buy Bitcoin, as it could be at or near the bottom. Once you've identified a potential entry point, you can decide how much of your investment capital do you want to allocate to the trade and place a buy order accordingly. This is pretty incredible, guys. This is pretty incredible. Now, here's what I want you to see. Somebody made the point in my video the day before yesterday that I should be looking at a monthly chart because the weekly time frame is too short. Here's the thing about a weekly time frame. Just looking at this pattern, it goes all the way back to January of 2021. So this weekly chart is basically giving me a view from 2021 all the way really to 2024. So I'm looking at 3 years here on the weekly chart. And I'm using this weekly chart to project what I see happening in the next 6 to 9 months. And what I see happening in the next 6 to 9 months is something like this. Something like this, right? Something similar. So kind of moving sideways, we'll come up, we'll come down, and then one more good drop somewhere around April. And we talked about this. We talked about how, in my last video, I talked about how from the top of the RSI to the top of the price was 308 days. And so if the RSI, if from the bottom of the RSI to the bottom of the price is also 308 days, that would take us all the way to, to basically May, right? So I'm expecting somewhere, and it doesn't have to be 308 days. I'm expecting somewhere between April and May. And my my bottom line here is 13,326, barring any major disaster. I mean, it could go lower than that, of course, and it doesn't have to go that low. These are just projections based on possibilities that I'm looking at in the chart. So if the weekly chart can give us this view, wouldn't the monthly chart be better? Well, on the monthly chart, what we're seeing is that we've made a lower low. So the bottom of the RSI on the weekly chart was way back here in June. But on the monthly chart, we're literally right now making a lower low. So if we're making a lower low on the monthly chart, does that mean that we could throw this 3 to 6 month. I mean, really on the monthly chart, the question would be, because this is the thing, I'm looking at this monthly chart in the same amount of distance that I'm looking at 3 years here on the weekly chart. This is 2026, this is 2015. So this is a decade I'm looking at basically. I mean, I can look at a decade of Bitcoin from 2023 to 2013 in one screen on the monthly chart. But let's look at the past bull run to see if we could discover anything interesting. Here was the top of the bull run in the RSI on the monthly chart. The top of it was on March 1st. Well, where was the top of it on the weekly chart? The top of the bull run in the RSI on the weekly chart was January 4th. What does that mean? That means that the RSI on the weekly chart topped out 3 months before the RSI on the monthly chart topped out. The RSI on the weekly chart topped out over here in January. There was still nearly 3 whole months before we topped out on the monthly chart, which means that the monthly chart lags behind the weekly chart. Okay? So, why wouldn't we expect the monthly chart to lag behind the weekly chart on the way down as well? Right? Like, just as the monthly chart was late to show us the top, the monthly chart is also late to show us the bottom. Now, however, there is a possibility that we don't like to consider, but it is definitely a possibility that we must consider. And that possibility is that this is not the bottom of the RSI. It's possible that the RSI breaks down and makes a lower low and then comes up again. It could even go down again and make another low. I mean, it could stay in this wedge all the way to the end of 2023, basically. I mean, this is October 20. This could be the fall of next year that we remain in this wedge. What we're looking to see the RSI do is break out of the wedge, retest it, and then bounce. If that happens, then we've definitely made bottom here. But if the RSI comes back down and tests the bottom of this, then the clock starts again. And from the bottom, we've got 200 to 300 days before the market hits bottom. I want to say that again. If the RSI comes down here in, say, January of 2023 and hits bottom, then we've got another year of this stuff. 200 to 300 days before the market actually hits bottom. Now, I know that's kind of scary stuff, and we don't like to consider that, but it's definitely a possibility. Now, do I think that's going to happen? I do not think that's going to happen, although I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time, but my reasoning is this. At a certain point next year, in the middle of next year, they're going to stop raising interest rates. And when they stop raising interest rates, the value of the US dollar is going to peak. When the value of the US dollar peaks and turns around simultaneously, the securities and digital assets market the assets market in general is going to hit bottom. And when that bottom comes in, the bull run begins at the bottom. So, I mean, literally, if you could go back, if you want to know where this bull run began, it began here at the bottom, March 9th, 2020. That's the place you wanted to buy, March 9th, 2020. The bull run begins at the bottom. The only place better than that is December 3rd, 2018. The bull run begins at the bottom. So, a lot of times we say things like, well, we got to wait 4 years for the next bull run. No, you got to wait 4 years for the top of the next bull run, but you're not waiting for the top of the next bull run. You're waiting for the bottom of the next bull run. The opportunity is not at the top of the next bull run. The opportunity is at the bottom of the next bull run. And my best guess, my hypothesis at the moment is that the bottom of the next bull run is somewhere in the next 6 months. So anyway, just remember, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is simply my perspective. This is simply my opinion. And you could take it or leave it, make your own decisions. I'm simply trying to give you some data points that will enable you to make more educated decisions for yourself. But with that being said, thanks so much for watching. I've got a couple free documents. One is Intro to Investing. Second is Intro to Crypto. Third is Intro to Leverage Trading. And the fourth is a full treatment of my market outlook for 2023. You can get them by going to aboutthebee.com/4free, the number 4 free, or you just click the link in the description here and it'll take you there. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, but above all, make it your aim to sleep in peace, wake in joy, and walk in love. This is Cryptogenic, signing out.